Telecrappies, Telecrappies. This is Craig Cefola sitting here. That was a picture of my son, who at the time of the filming I guess was about 2 years old. This is the classic Telecrappies. I'm here with Otto and George. This was shot, I guess, what did we do this in 1990?
98 or I would say 8 or 9.
Yeah, 98. And it was cold. We did it in the wintertime. That's when I tend to shoot this stuff. And this was done at my parents' house, actually, in their backyard. My mother created these Telecrappies costumes from some supplies down at the rag shop. And this is back at Otto's place.
Yeah, this was a very interesting scene because we used my dog to create the illusion of George waking up and tortured him in the bag until we got the scene right. So animals were injured and abused in the making of this.
It was, what, 2 takes maybe?
Yeah.
And then we started to feel sorry for him?
Yeah. Larry was happy to be involved, so. And you can actually see Larry is in the lower left-hand corner by my elbow. He's ever present.
It was fun. I don't know if people realize when they watch this, but every time we see George, for the most part, you're controlling him.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're cutting from you laying on the bed to you holding George. I think people forget that, and they almost assume that George is being operated by someone else, and we shot this as like a 2-camera shoot or something.
Yeah. Yeah, in every frame of this film, I'm doing something except when I'm in the corner weeping from being overworked by Craig. And you can see Larry in the lower right-hand corner tagging along, as usual. Cannot get rid of him.
We never kind of explained Larry, I guess.
Yeah. This scene was shot at the end of the first day's shoot, which was a long day for me, and I was starting to get cranky at that point. And it worked well because I was supposed to have just been waking up, so I was tired and miserable and cranky.
Yes. I remember this was the point at which I didn't think we were going to make it through this shoot.
Yeah.
I was like, should we just abandon this right now or what?
Exactly. Yeah.
But George, I think, pulled through and helped us. But this was fun because I think this was the one that I was able to go and edit a little bit of it together to show you, so that you can get the idea that
this. I remember this was the very first thing we shot, was leaving the apartment. Remember?
Right.
This was the first thing that we shot, and we had to put Larry in this scene because he was upstairs barking from so much activity going on that he wasn't involved in. We said, well, we got to just put him in the scene, or he'd just be barking. It was very foggy that day.
Another thing that's funny too is you're doing the voice for George while you're walking here.
Yeah.
Every time I turn the camera away from you, you're doing this. And I remember that of all the parts in this skit, that's where you sound the least like George.
Yeah, because I wasn't able to hold him during that. During the vocal. It's hard for me to get his voice. It's true. My neighbors never looked at me the same after that day. I walked across the street cursing at myself in 2 voices in the fog with a schmuck holding a camera. Yeah. And where was this shot? Close to your home, right?
Yeah, I think it was off the Palisades. We traveled a little bit.
This was like a suburban street, and we just went like 2 blocks back and forth, so you'll see the same trees.
Yeah, if you're really into detail, you can certainly drive yourself crazy. Say, hey, that's the same tree.
The same tree from when they were going the other way.
What's really funny too is we didn't have much written for this scene. A lot
Nothing.
Of it was just like, you know, George drives Otto around in car and comments on things.
I was always amazed that you got so much out of the driving part.
I think the first cut of this, I probably used 90% of it, and then I was able to wean out whatever jokes didn't work. And there's probably been 4 different versions of this.
Yeah. So I'm sitting behind George, working him in all of these shots, and you're sitting in my seat holding the camera.
Right. And Rob Dukes, who plays the stoned Telecrappy, is actually driving the car.
Yeah.
As best he can without being seen.
Yeah. Exactly.
We're giving away our secrets. Is that a bad idea?
Nah. This is fine. This is the interesting. What a great shitty car for George to own. All the shitty little rock band stickers. And just a great grubby car.
Another thing funny about this too is every time you finished a line and we would cut, we'd just all break into hysterics, or at least Rob and I would. We would just, you know, we were Otto and George fans, you know, before we thought of ever getting an opportunity to shoot something like this. So,
yeah.
You know, this is kind of like...
You wanted to film this like on the Palisades, and I was like, no, we can't possibly. We have to find a safer spot. But she was hot too.
Another thing that's funny about the driving scenes too is for people that don't know, you don't drive.
Yeah.
So when the idea of coming up with doing a driving scene came up, it was never brought up that, well, you would drive because you don't drive. So
yeah.
It just sort of came into, well, what if George drove?
Yeah.
Because it was easier to fake George driving than to get into a car with you driving for the first time. Would be more scary.
It's true. It's like life imitating art without driving skills. So,
crappy picture.
yeah, that's great. That's very Three Stoogian.
Mitch Saul and Art Mannion.
Yeah.
Two regulars on my show who, all the regular Check It Out guys pretty much
both excellent.
Stepped up to the plate for this.
Yeah.
It's a good opportunity to do something that a few more people would see.
Yeah.
Because of Otto and George's following.
Yeah, in the most recent film I did, there was a lot of debate about whether the psychiatrist should have a German accent. Is that corny? Is that too corny? Is that right? And we finally just said, no, it's no German accent. But the French accent on the director seemed to work in this.
Yeah.
Because it's just so absurd.
Gave George an excuse, too, to...
Yeah, like they would have some imported French genius of TV in France come over here to do this absurd kid show with a vicious dummy.
One thing that you really see in this skit that you don't see in any of your stage performances is you really get a good look at George.
Yeah, you can see the nail right in the middle of his head that holds the wig on. All those nice finish.
It's like the first time I never really paid much attention until I saw this, and I'm like, wow, look at the little thing that holds his eyebrows on.
Yeah.
You know, it's sort of taken away from the realism of George, but, you know.
Exactly, yeah.
I'm now studying his
yeah, there's a nail right there holding that crappy wig on.
Hair's made out of
yeah,
Brillo or pubic.
Yeah.
Pubic hair and Brillo, I don't know.
See the way Frenchie is staring at George and listening to him is not easy to do. To play dramatic scene with a puppet, you know, that's like, you know, like Kermit the Frog. People who work around puppets have to play like that's a real person.
Who turned the chair there? Was that you?
Probably. Might have been you.
I was wondering how George could swing around in the chair by himself like that.
Yeah.
When we got to talking about doing this and I was writing the script and trying to come up with ideas, I knew that if we put George in a situation where we surrounded him with things that were absurd, that he would have plenty of dialogue. And I think once George was able to look at these Teletubbies, or Telecrappies as we call them.
Yeah. Good shot of the nail there.
Yeah. You know, all this stuff just came out. I don't think that we had any idea you were going to say any of this, and it just...
Yeah.
I think as you looked at them, the stuff just popped into your head.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, I think, you know, we used 75% of what we shot, and, you know, the few jokes that didn't... There weren't very many jokes that we didn't use because they all seemed to work. You just went on and went off.
It's the opposite of creating like the perfect dinner party with the seat arrangements where you want the right people together who are like-minded. So you go, take George and put him with the people that need to be insulted the most, and it'll be only wonderful.
I can't imagine ever shooting something with a perfect script that had every word right where it needed to be and every joke right where it's supposed to be. You just got to kind of create this stuff as you go.
Yeah.
Whatever makes you laugh at the time will probably make you laugh 10 years from now when you see it. And we laughed a lot. That's the thing. We knew we were making something funny.
Yeah.
You know, I think we were unsure in the first shoot, but then once I cut it together and we looked at it, we knew as we were shooting, I think, that...
Yeah, I remember you cut just a driving segment for me just to go, look, this is taking shape. And I was like, wow. You know, the first day I was like, we didn't get anything. We went for a ride, and then at the end of the day, I yelled at Craig and I was cranky. and he's probably sorry he ever met me. And then, like, you cut it together. It was like, because by the end of the day, I was like, you got to give me some dialogue. I can't keep being, you know, funny without anything on the page. And I remember you said, look, you know, I got the camera, and I got, you know, I'm going to edit this, but, you know, that's what I brought to the table. You have to make George come to life and be funny. And it's like, that's what you have to do. That's your end. And I was like, oh, okay.
Oh.
So movies making is hard. Because I always thought, you know, it must be wonderful to be De Niro and just be in a trailer and have millions of dollars in cash, but it's a lot of work. If a guy makes 3 movies a year, he's got very little personal time.
Got to climb into character too.
Yeah.
And at least you have character. You have the character down. You don't have to climb into character. You just have to come up with really the juice of the humor.
Yeah, I just have to stay mentally ill and avoid all forms of therapy, and I'll have an act. This part I liked.
By the way, we're also sitting here with Chips Cooney, who
you're
gonna see coming up. That's Chips on the left.
Yeah.
And Suzanne Smith, right? She's another comedian.
Yeah, Suzanne Smith.
And Chips does a great job with the stogie there. Looks realistic.
Yeah, I felt I should have kept the tone down. I felt like my volume, I was talking too loud in this. And I don't think, after watching it a couple of times, I should have just kept it down. I don't know what got over me. I think just getting excited like that, should have had it down a little bit anyway.
I don't know if you heard that, but Chips was trying to convey that he might have had a volume problem during the making of this.
Yeah.
See right there, see? See how I'm talking loud? I shouldn't have done that.
It was freezing that day, right?
Yes, it was very cold. I love this scene. This is one of my favorites. I knew right from the start that if we introduced each character one at a time, it would build up to when we got to you. And as long as you came out with a line, and we had no idea what you were going to say here.
Yeah.
I didn't feed you your dialogue, but you just kind of looked at me and said, you know, okay, I get it. And you waited your turn, and then I swear, we used 5 takes here, 5 times it were coming across. Mm-hmm. We only did 5. You know, we didn't do more than that. It's not like I had 20 and I picked the best 5.
That's true.
We did 5 and they were all funny.
I remember it was freezing cold, but the sun was warm. It was like freezing, but you had that warm sun on you, and it was good. The lighting was great.
Yeah.
Well, that's God gave us the... But with Chips, with the cell phone and the cigar, that's Rick Messina. He's like a Hollywood guy, I know. Exactly like that. He's got a cigar and a cell phone.
Did he know when he saw this that was a caricature?
No. No, I don't think so.
These guys were all into character.
Yeah.
Now, I'll stab you in the cock with a gyro fork. That just...
My grandmother gave me that line. I told her I was doing this film, a spoof of a kid show. She goes, well, why don't you have the puppet say stab you in the cock with a gyro fork? I go, thanks, Grandma. Talk slower. I can't write that fast, you old whore.
Chips, I love you in this scene, man. You're just like...
Yeah.
So angry and so worried. You pulled off the worried producer.
Yeah. His entire investment is being flushed down the toilet by a puppet. Absurd.
It's like George was supposed to save the show and he's sinking it.
Yeah.
These were hard shots to do because there's a lot going on, and we needed to avoid seeing you because you're not supposed to be there.
Yeah, George is always in the far right hand, the far left hand of the screen, which is something that I didn't want because we didn't want my arm to be in the shot, but what I figured out is if you have fake walls, George could always be centered. You know, if we had gotten a fence or even in this scene, the arm could have been coming up from the roof of the doghouse, but you know, that's something we learned from making this, and it's not that big a deal to just a fake wall in a scene. It could be the same wall in a lot of different scenes, repainted or whatever.
Yeah, you kind of need a special effects guy on hand to think of that. See, when we sort of did this production, it was very bare bones. You know, we didn't have a lot of people working on it.
Yeah, so, whatever's laying. Whatever's laying around, yeah.
But, you know, ideally, you want somebody in charge of specialty. So,
Yeah.
You know, where I was probably lighting a smoke bomb there should have been like a...
I thought your mother did a great job in the costumes. The little feet on George's costume. It's really adorable.
Yeah, worked well. Worked
Yeah.
well. Marshall cracks up here laughing.
Yeah.
Why? He couldn't take
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, that's an actual laugh.
And that's because we never knew what you were going to say. I mean, for the most part, it's not like, you know, most movies, I guess, when you read the script 100 times, the jokes aren't funny anymore, even when you say them. So, in our case, we didn't really have any jokes. We just had the blueprint.
Yeah.
So, you know, as it turned out, we ended up laughing every time we did something.
Yeah. Suzanne Smith doing anything to get into the scene. That's great. I had a lot of fun. Shooting this golf scene. It was a lot of
Especially
fun.
since it was probably the first time you swung a golf club,
Yeah.
right? Look legit, though.
Yeah, a couple of people said, you got a good swing there. You should play golf.
And you hit the ball pretty much every time except a couple, which is more than I can say about my own golf.
Those were tennis balls, right?
No, they were little plastic golf balls. They were actually...
Weren't they like
golf
ping pong balls? Like that kind of
because they
material?
had little etches on them like a golf ball. They came in a package.
Yeah.
Ping pong balls would have been too small. Like, I don't think you would have seen them. That's great.
What was that, a Bruce Lee kick?
Who knows where I lifted that effect from? I have a special effects CD with a lot of sounds on it.
That sounded like a good Bruce Lee kick.
Yeah.
Full Metal Jacket quote.
The absurdity of this, I know, makes people laugh. You know, the fact that, you know, what is going on here? What is George doing?
Yeah.
I mean, regardless of the fact that he is a puppet.
Yeah.
The chaos on this set is just so absurd that this would ever happen anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is a lot of people's favorite scene, just as you destroy Suzanne.
Oh. George's, diatribe here and not letting her get a word in, which was great.
I remember filming this and just being like, when is he going to stop? And I'm like, I hope he doesn't. But,
yeah, she played it great.
Is he going too far here?
Yeah.
It's like the Joe Pesci thing.
Yeah.
What am I? I'm funny?
Yeah. Just doesn't let her speak. She played it beautifully. I'm out of here.
Fun scene.
Yeah.
Then it was great to get you back in the car because that was most people's favorite place for George
to
be, was in the car. Like
and you didn't overdo it with the driving.
Yeah, it was enough.
Just enough. And now it's like this puppet drives this guy home.
You should probably talk about the Stroker Ace reference here.
This came out of a conversation you and me had at dinner. Something I
was
forget.
in the diner, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Somehow I brought up how I like Burt Reynolds.
Yeah, how Burt Reynolds is your all-time favorite action guy from when you were a kid till now. And we were talking about how bad we thought Stroker Ace was when it was made, but now he's made so many worse films in the interim between Stroker Ace and Boogie Nights that Stroker Ace is now like the Maltese Falcon. It's like up with Casablanca in the Burt, It's like there's Bad Burt, and then there's pre-Stroker Ace Bad Burt, which would be like Cannonball 2. You know?
Also available on DVD with a
director's
cut.
Yeah.
Well, it's nice to be able to do a DVD with a director's cut.
Yeah.
This, I got to tell you, the guys...
Everybody was freaking the day...
Totally frightened to be in this.
This was like, everybody was like...
Dreading this.
Yeah, this was like jumping out of an airplane. They were all squeamish and didn't want to do it. No, please. Everybody was angry at you that day, I remembered.
Yeah.
That you were the only one,
that wasn't getting
fucked by a puppet. Yeah.
But everybody did it, and they worked through it, and, you know, like...
Yeah, I remember you were saying, really grab a nice wad of that KY jelly, you big black freak. Everybody, and what's his name? Brian was the most freaked about. Just squeamish.
But it turned out to be cartoonish. I don't think it was as gross as everybody thought it would be. You know, it was a total goof. You know, how can you take this seriously?
No, this is not at all disgusting. It's comedy. I mean, first of all, everybody's fully clothed, so there can't be any real penetration. It's just absurd.
It's a moronic.
Yeah. And it weaves back to your little son there.